Jungkook begs Jimin to come to his wedding, but Jimin's shocking response in front of everyone silences the entire room. What did he just say? The champagne glass slipped from Jimin's hand and shattered on the marble floor. Silence fell across the rehearsal dinner, a paralyzing kind of silence, the kind that slows time, that isolates a single heartbeat in a crowd of gasps, the kind that makes a man forget he's breathing. Jungkook had just dropped to his knees, not in front of his bride, but in front of Jimin, his tuxedo still sharp, his hair perfectly swept back, but his voice cracked like glass against concrete. "I'm not asking you to stop the wedding," he whispered, eyes shining beneath the chandelier's glow. "I'm begging you, just come. I need you there." Jimin didn't move. His fingers trembled at his sides as if they wanted to grab onto something, someone. But there was nothing left. No hand to hold. No time to rewind. Just cameras clicking. And 30 stunned guests watching a man with everything fall apart in front of the one he let slip away. The air was thick with tension. Jungkook remained on his knees, like a man confessing a sin no one could forgive. Jimin finally spoke, his voice barely audible. "You really want me there?" Jungkook nodded, and his voice broke completely. "Yes, even if you hate me, even if you don't speak to me, I need you there." Jimin stared into his eyes for a long moment. "And then, I'll come," he said. "But not for you." The air snapped. Everyone jolted. Jungkook flinched, but he didn't rise. Jimin continued, his voice steadier now, colder. "I'll come for the man I thought you were, not the one who abandoned me when I needed you most." And just like that, he walked away. But the damage was already done. It hadn't always been this way. Just 6 months earlier, Jungkook and Jimin had been inseparable, best friends since training days. The ones who couldn't be photographed without the other, the laugh behind the cameras, the private late-night calls no one knew about, the unspoken language in their eyes. But somewhere between fame and fear, something snapped. It started with a secret. A dinner Jungkook never mentioned. A message Jimin saw by accident. A lie Jungkook told and kept telling. Then came the woman. Beautiful, graceful, a media darling. Everything Jungkook's parents wanted. Everything his label approved of. Everything Jimin wasn't. The engagement was announced within 3 months. Jimin found out on Twitter. The betrayal wasn't in the marriage, it was in the silence. Jimin didn't cry. Not in front of anyone. But Taehyung knew. He'd seen the way Jimin stared out the window backstage, watching Jungkook laugh with someone else. He'd seen the smudged eyeliner, the bruised lips from biting back words. He'd heard the voicemail Jungkook left and deleted. "I didn't mean for this to happen, but I can't undo it." But no apology came after, no explanation, just the headlines. Jeon Jungkook engaged. Wedding of the year set for October. And Jimin disappeared for 2 weeks. No one knew where. No one dared to ask. Until now. Until Jungkook dropped to his knees and begged. Backstage, away from the rehearsal dinner's murmurs and whispers, Taehyung found Jimin alone. "You okay?" he asked gently. Jimin didn't answer at first. He just stared at his reflection in the mirror. Makeup flawless. Expression unreadable. "Do you still love him?" Taehyung asked. Jimin finally looked up. "It doesn't matter. It does to him. That's the problem," Jimin said, turning to face him. "It matters to him now." And with that, he walked out, leaving behind not just the room, but the version of himself that had waited too long for a reason to stay. That night, Jungkook couldn't sleep. His fiancée lay beside him, dreaming of tomorrow's flowers and photographers, while he stared at the ceiling, replaying every word Jimin said. "I'll come, but not for you." The truth of it gutted him, not because it was cruel, but because it was honest. And somewhere deep in his chest, behind the layers of ambition and expectation, he finally admitted to himself. He wasn't ready to let Jimin go. Not then, not now, maybe not ever. The next morning, the guest list was updated. Jimin's name sat in bold beside a red heart emoji added by Jungkook himself. The bride didn't notice, but Jungkook stared at it for a long time. Long enough to remember the boy who once told him, "If you ever get married, I better be in the front row." And now, he would be. But at what cost? The wedding was 3 days away, and everything, absolutely everything, was about to unravel. The door slammed shut behind him, loud enough to startle the hotel concierge. Jungkook stormed into the penthouse suite. tearing off his suit jacket and throwing it across the room. His breath was ragged, his hands trembling as he leaned against the wall, trying to steady the chaos inside him. But it wasn't working. The images kept flashing Jimin's eyes, Jimin's voice, the way he said it. "I'll come, but not for you." He paced the length of the room, over and over, until finally he pulled out his phone and stared at Jimin's name. His thumb hovered over the call button. He didn't press it. Instead, he threw the phone on the bed and sat at the edge of it, head in hands. What the hell had he done? The door opened behind him again, softer this time. He didn't look. He didn't need to. "You humiliated yourself," a calm, female voice said, "and you humiliated me." It was Hana, his fiancée. She stepped in, closing the door behind her, her long red dress flowing like fire around her. There was no smile on her face, no trace of the perfect public image she usually wore. Only sharp eyes and the quiet fury of a woman who knew her place in someone's life had just been questioned in front of a room full of people. "Hana," Jungkook began, standing up quickly. "I didn't mean to." "You didn't mean to kneel in front of your ex and beg him to come to our wedding?" Jungkook winced. "It's not like that." Her voice was dangerously quiet. "Then tell me, what is it like?" He struggled. I needed him there." "Why?" Her voice cracked. "Why him?" He looked down. His silence was louder than anything he could have said. "Jesus," she whispered, stepping back as if slapped. "You're still in love with him?" "No," he said too quickly. "It's not that simple." "Oh, come on." Hana's voice finally broke free of restraint. "You don't fall to your knees for someone who means nothing to you, Jungkook. Not in front of everyone. Not when your future wife is standing right there." He turned to her, pain etched into every feature. "I didn't say he means nothing." "So say it. Say what he means." He opened his mouth, closed it, couldn't say a word. Hana shook her head, blinking fast. "Wow, I don't want to hurt you." "You already did." She stood in front of the window now, staring out at the Seoul skyline as night bled into the buildings. After a long pause, she whispered, "You should figure out who you're marrying before Saturday. Because right now, it's not me." She left. This time, Jungkook didn't try to stop her. Across the city, Jimin was lying awake on his hotel room bed, staring at the ceiling fan spinning above him. He had his earbuds in, but no music played. Just the hum of emptiness. His phone buzzed. "Taehyung, you okay?" The text read. Jimin didn't answer. Another buzz. "Want to get out? Drive somewhere?" Still no reply. Finally, a call came in. Not Taehyung, Jungkook. Jimin stared at it. His thumb hovered. But he didn't press anything. He let it ring, and fade. Then he texted 3 words back. "Don't call me." Taehyung showed up anyway 10 minutes later, keys in hand. "Get in the car." Jimin didn't argue. They drove in silence, out of the city, past neon lights and blinking billboards, past the bridges and the Han River, into darkness. It wasn't until they were parked at the edge of the water, engine off, that Taehyung finally said, "Do you still love him?" Jimin didn't move. "Yes." Taehyung nodded, like he'd expected it. Jimin looked out the window. "But I also hate him." "That's fair." A long silence stretched between them, filled with everything they didn't say. Finally, Jimin asked, "Do you think I'm crazy for still showing up?" "No," Taehyung said. "I think you're braver than he ever was." Jimin's voice was cold. "He was a coward. Still is," Taehyung said. Jimin smiled bitterly. "He said he didn't want me to stop the wedding. But he looked at me like he wished I would." The wind outside howled against the car windows. "You know," Taehyung said quietly, "you don't have to go. I already said yes. So change your mind." Jimin shook his head. "It's not about him anymore." "Then what's it about?" Jimin's jaw tightened. "It's about me. About not letting him erase me like I never mattered. About standing there and reminding him what he gave up." The next morning, news of the public outburst had already hit the internet. A blurry photo of Jungkook on his knees circulated under hashtags like #Jungkook begged Jimin and #wedding drama. Comments were vicious, speculative, divided. Some blamed Jimin for showing up. Others crucified Jungkook for disrespecting his fiancée. Most were just stunned. Hana's agency released a neutral statement, brushing it off as, An emotional moment between close friends. But the look on her face at the bridal boutique said otherwise. When asked about final fittings, Hana calmly said, "I'm not sure the dress will be needed." Meanwhile, Jungkook was nowhere to be seen. Not on Weverse. Not in high buildings. Not even in his own apartment. He was driving with no destination. No direction. Just the radio playing static, and his mind full of the last words Jimin had said to him. "I'll come for the man I thought you were." It echoed like a curse. A ghost. A truth. He ended up outside the old studio they used to rent back in the trainee days. It was abandoned now, graffiti scrawled across the walls, but the light still worked. He stepped inside. Memories crashed into him like waves. Jimin lying on the floor, exhausted from dance practice, laughing with his eyes closed. Jungkook tossing a bottle of water at him. The secret glances, the secret touches, the almost kisses, the moment they almost had a future. He sank to the floor, and finally let himself break. Not like at the rehearsal dinner. Not for show. This time it was real. Deep, guttural sobs that tore through him like broken glass. And when it was over, he whispered into the empty room, "Don't lie to me again, Jungkook." But he was the only one there. And he already had. "I want the truth, Jungkook. Not your apology. Not your tears. Not your silence. Just say it, say why you really wanted me there." Jimin's voice echoed in the dark corners of the rooftop parking lot, his breath visible in the cold midnight air. He had waited. Waited 3 days since the rehearsal dinner, since the kneeling, since the world caught fire around them. He said nothing publicly. Not a single post, not a single appearance. But now he stood here, uninvited, unannounced, facing the man who broke him. Jungkook stood across from him, arms limp at his sides, hoodie soaked from the misty drizzle that had fallen like ash all evening. He had left Hana's place 2 hours ago, left the ring on the table. No words, no notes, just a whisper of clothes packed into a duffel bag, a silent goodbye to a woman he never deserved. "I can't lie anymore," Jungkook said softly. "Then don't." Jimin's voice was firm, clipped. "Tell me the truth." Jungkook looked up, and there was something unrecognizable in his face. Not regret, not sorrow, something deeper, like shame wrapped in longing. "I wanted you there because I couldn't go through it without you. I thought, if I saw you one last time, maybe it wouldn't hurt so much." Jimin shook his head, a hollow laugh escaping. "You thought dragging me into your wedding would hurt less?" "No, I thought not seeing you would destroy me." "Then why didn't you choose me?" "I did." "No," Jimin snapped. "You chose safety. You chose what made sense. You chose silence." Jungkook stepped forward. "I chose wrong." "And now what?" Jimin said, taking a step back. "You think showing up here, with your voice breaking, makes it better?" "I called it off. That stopped everything." The wind stilled. The sounds of soul below faded. Even Jimin's heartbeat seemed to pause. "What?" "I left her," Jungkook said. "I couldn't marry someone while pretending I didn't love you." Jimin's mouth opened, but no words came out. He stared at him, waiting for the punchline, for the twist, for the moment Jungkook would ruin it again. But Jungkook just stood there, soaked, tired, broken, honest. "You're selfish," Jimin said, his voice low and dangerous. "You destroy everything in your path just to feel less alone." "I know. You lied to her. You lied to me. You lied to yourself." "I know. You don't get to say I love you now like it fixes things." "I'm not asking it to," Jungkook whispered. "I just needed you to know. Even if it's too late." Jimin turned away, hand on his face, breath shaky. "You don't know what you did to me, Jungkook. You don't know what those nights were like. Watching the headlines. Smiling for the cameras. Pretending I didn't want to scream every time your name was mentioned." "I do," Jungkook said. "Because I did the same." There was silence again, broken only by the sound of rain picking up around them, streaking across metal and concrete, washing over the pain like it could ever cleanse it. "I never stopped loving you," Jungkook said. Jimin laughed bitterly. "Love isn't supposed to feel like this." Jungkook didn't answer. Jimin turned to face him, his eyes wet not from the rain. "So what now? You leave her. You show up here. And what? We go back to pretending this is simple." "I'm not pretending anything anymore." And you think I should just fall into your arms because you're finally brave enough to admit what you want? No, Jungkook said. I think you should walk away if you need to. But I'll be here. This time, I'll be here. Jimin stared at him for a long moment. You broke something in me, he said. And I don't know if it'll ever heal. I'll wait, Jungkook said. Even if it doesn't. At that, Jimin turned and left. Not because he was running, but because he couldn't breathe anymore. Jungkook didn't chase him. He just stood there in the rain, hands clenched at his sides, tears lost in the downpour. Back at the studio, Taehyung sat across from Hana. Neither of them spoke for a while. He called it off? Taehyung asked. She nodded. Left the ring on the table. You okay? She didn't answer immediately. Her voice, when it came, was tired but clear. I was never going to be enough. Not for someone who already gave his heart away. I'm sorry, Taehyung said. I'm not. She gave a faint smile. Now I know the truth. I deserve someone who chooses me without hesitation. He looked at her, surprised. You're stronger than I thought. I had to be, she said. You don't survive in this world if you're not. As she stood to leave, she paused by the door. Tell Jimin, if he ever forgives Jungkook, he better make damn sure it's for the right reasons. Not because he's lonely, but because he knows what he's worth. I will. She left without looking back. That night, Jimin sat alone on the floor of his apartment, surrounded by photos he once hid. Pictures of them laughing. Of practice days. Of birthdays. Of a world that once made sense. He didn't cry. He didn't speak. He just stared at one photo, him and Jungkook backstage, sweat on their brows, grins on their faces, fingers entwined behind their backs where no one could see. They were happy once, and maybe, somehow, they could be again, but not yet, not now. First, the wounds had to breathe, and that kind of healing took more than love. It took time. You want to talk now? Jimin's voice was sharp, too sharp for the time of night. His breath was visible in the winter air, his eyes bloodshot from sleep deprivation, his body tense with rage he no longer wanted to tame. He stood at the doorframe, barefoot, hoodie zipped to his neck, lips pressed so tight they looked bruised. You think after everything, you can just knock on my door at 3 a.m., like this is some kind of drama scene? Jungkook didn't flinch. He stood outside, drenched from the walk in the rain, his hoodie clinging to his body, hair matted to his forehead. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. His voice was low, controlled. No drama, just honesty. Jimin laughed, a hollow sound. Now you want to be honest? Is that your thing? You ruin people's lives and then show up with a speech when you're ready to feel better about it? I don't expect you to forgive me. Then why are you here? Jungkook took a breath, his eyes not leaving Jimin's. Because I can't walk into the rest of my life with silence between us. I can't move forward pretending I didn't destroy you. You didn't destroy me, Jimin snapped, stepping closer. You just taught me I was disposable, like a secret, like shame. That's not true. Then why didn't you choose me? I was scared. Of what? Of what it would cost me. Jimin's face twisted in disbelief. So you waited? Me against your career? Against your family? Against your fans? And I lost? You didn't lose, Jungkook whispered. I did. Jimin's jaw clenched. You don't get to rewrite the story now that you've walked off set. I'm not rewriting it. I'm just trying to tell you what I should have said a year ago. Jimin stepped back, crossing his arms. And what exactly is that? I was in love with you before I even understood what love was. I was terrified because you made everything feel too real. And I convinced myself that if I buried it deep enough, I could have the life they all wanted for me. And then, Jimin asked, fire dancing behind his eyes. Did it work? Did your perfect life feel like love? No, Jungkook said. It felt like pretending to breathe underwater. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, coiled, explosive. You broke her too, Jimin said quietly. I know. She loved you. Not the idol. Not the press version. You. I never deserved her. And you don't deserve me either. Jungkook's face broke, pain flashing like lightning. I know. Jimin looked down at the floor, his voice growing quieter. You think I didn't imagine it? What it would have been like? If you had just chosen me? I imagined it every day. Stop, Jimin said sharply. You don't get to romanticize it now. You don't get to claim the fantasy while I live through the nightmare. I'm not asking for a second chance, Jungkook said. I'm just asking to be heard. You want to be heard? Jimin's voice shook. Then hear this, there were nights I wished I could forget you. And mornings where I hated myself for still hoping you'd text. I'm sorry. No, you're not, Jimin said. You're sorry you lost control. You're sorry I saw the truth. You're sorry you're alone. But you're not sorry for choosing her. I left her. You left her because it was convenient. Because you saw what it did to your image. Don't pretend it was some noble act of love. I left her because I couldn't say her name without seeing your face. The silence cracked. The words landed like a punch to the gut. I don't want this, Jimin said, shaking his head. I don't want a confession at my door like we're 17 again. I don't know what else to do. Then maybe don't do anything. Maybe leave me alone. Maybe let me figure out who I am without being the person you betrayed. Jungkook's voice cracked. But I miss you. Jimin's eyes filled with tears, but he refused to let them fall. That's not enough. I know. And don't come back until it is. Jimin slammed the door. The sound echoed like thunder down the hallway. Inside, he slid down the back of the door, his knees hitting the floor, his breath shallow. He didn't cry. He didn't scream. He just pressed his head against the wood and whispered, "Please don't come back." But on the other side, Jungkook didn't leave. He sat down, back against the same door, and rested his head too. They stayed like that for hours, two broken silhouettes divided by 6 inches of wood and a year of silence. The sun began to rise. Neither of them moved. Because some wounds don't bleed on the surface. They bleed in the space where love once lived. And sometimes, the cruelest part of love isn't that it ends, it's that it waits just long enough for you to believe it might come back. The sound of a door unlocking in the early morning wasn't what Jungkook expected. After hours sitting in the hallway outside Jimin's apartment, rain drying on his skin and silence thick as regret, he'd resigned himself to being ignored. But now, the door opened slowly, just a crack, and Jimin's tired face emerged. He didn't say a word. He simply turned and walked back inside, leaving the door open. Jungkook hesitated, then stepped in quietly, closing the door behind him. The apartment was dim. Unfinished tea sat cold on the coffee table. A jacket still smelled like lavender detergent. The place looked untouched, yet lived in, like someone had built a life around trying not to feel. Jimin stood at the window, arms crossed, not looking back. I didn't invite you to talk, don't get it twisted. I won't say anything unless you want me to. I don't want your promises anymore, Jimin said. I just want answers. Jungkook nodded, slowly, cautiously. Ask. Jimin turned, and his eyes were no longer red, they were steel. Did you ever love her? Jungkook flinched. No, not the way I loved you. That's not what I asked. He looked down. I tried to. That's worse. I know. And what about me? Jimin's voice cracked, but he kept going. When you were holding her hand in public, when you kissed her on magazine covers, when you smiled next to her in interviews, what was I to you then? You were the voice in the back of my mind telling me I was lying. Jimin scoffed. So I was your guilt? You were the truth, Jungkook said, stepping forward. The part of me I buried because I thought I had to, because they told me I'd lose everything if I didn't. You did lose everything. I know. Jimin walked to the kitchen, opening the fridge just to have something to do with his hands. Did she know about us? She suspected, Jungkook admitted. She asked once. I didn't deny it. But you didn't confirm it either. No. Coward. Yes. Jimin slammed the fridge shut. You don't get points for honesty after the damage is done. I'm not asking for points, Jungkook said, barely above a whisper. I'm asking for a moment. Jimin turned, fire in his eyes again. You already had 1,000 moments. You had years. You had me when I was all in. When I was begging for scraps of attention. When I was hiding behind curtains just to watch you sing a song you once wrote about me for someone else. I never stopped writing about you. Don't you dare romanticize this, Jungkook. Don't you dare turn our pain into poetry to make yourself feel better. I'm not. You are. You always do. You turn heartbreak into verses, guilt into melody, and somehow you're still the one people cry for. I cry too. Yeah? Jimin's voice rose. Behind closed doors? When no one's looking? That's easy. Try sobbing on stage while they hand you microphones and expect you to lie through your teeth. Jungkook's voice cracked. I lied because I thought it would protect you. No, you lied because it protected you. Silence swallowed them whole. Jimin leaned against the counter, breathing hard, chest rising and falling like he'd just run a marathon through every memory they ever shared. You want to know what hurts the most? Jungkook nodded once, eyes glossy. That I still love you, Jimin whispered. Even after everything. Even when I know I shouldn't. Even when you made me feel invisible in front of the world. Jungkook looked shattered. I never wanted you to feel that way. But you let it happen. I was scared. Stop using fear as your excuse. You weren't scared when you kissed her. When you posed for engagement photos. When you signed off on a wedding you didn't believe in. I was dying inside. And I was already dead. That line hung in the air like smoke from a gunshot. Jungkook took a step forward. Slow. Deliberate. So what now? You hate me. You love me. I'm broken. You're bleeding. Where do we go from here? Jimin met his eyes. We don't. The silence was deafening. I need to find myself again, Jimin continued more calmly now. I need to know who I am when I'm not the shadow of your decisions. I can wait, Jungkook said softly. I don't want you to. Jungkook blinked. What? I don't want you to wait. I don't want you to think this ends with us getting back together. Because maybe it doesn't. Maybe I learn to live without you. Maybe I meet someone who doesn't make me feel like an afterthought. Jungkook swallowed hard. But you still love me. And that's my burden, not yours. Outside, the sky was starting to turn gray. Morning light crawled into the room, but it didn't bring peace, just clarity. Jungkook took a shaky breath. Do you want me to leave? Jimin hesitated. Yes. Jungkook nodded slowly. He stepped back. He didn't cry this time. He didn't beg. He just looked at him one last time. The man he still loved, the man he had broken, and whispered, I'm sorry I wasn't braver. As he walked toward the door, Jimin didn't follow. He didn't call out. But when the door clicked shut, he slid to the floor, trembling. Not because Jungkook left, but because for the first time he didn't want him to stay. The press conference was never meant to happen. Jungkook hadn't planned on addressing the breakup, the wedding, or the rumors flooding the internet like wildfire. But the silence was suffocating, and the narrative was slipping out of his control. He walked onto the stage with no stylist, no security, no management. Just a bottle of water in one hand and a tremor in the other. Flashbulbs erupted like fireworks the second he stepped behind the podium. Questions fired before microphones were even turned on. Is it true you left her for Jimin? Did Jimin ruin the wedding? Were you ever really in love with your fiancé? He raised one hand, and the room fell quiet. I'm not here to defend myself, he began, voice steady but cold. And I'm not here to give you sound bites. I'm here because I owe honesty to the people I've hurt. Backstage, Taehyung stood frozen, arms crossed, watching the live feed on a monitor with Jimin beside him. Jimin hadn't spoken all morning. He didn't even want to come, but Taehyung had dragged him there, whispering only once, You need to see this for yourself. On the screen, Jungkook's eyes scanned the room before landing on a point only he could see. I wasn't ready to get married. I thought I was. I convinced myself I was. But when it came time to stand in front of someone and promise forever, I realized I couldn't do it if I was still in love with someone else. Gasps filled the room. Phones raised higher. The murmurs turned to thunder. Jungkook didn't flinch. I'm not proud of how I handled things. I hurt someone who deserved better. And I hurt someone else. Someone I should have fought for when I had the chance. I lost both. That's on me. Reporters started shouting again. One loud voice broke through the chaos. Is that someone, Jimin? Jungkook stared straight into the camera. Yes. In the hallway, Jimin's chest constricted. His hands clenched into fists at his sides. He turned to walk away, but Taehyung grabbed his arm. You said you wanted answers, Taehyung whispered. You're getting them. I didn't want them like this, Jimin said. Not publicly. Not with the world watching. He's telling the truth, finally. It's too late. Then tell him that. Jimin pulled his arm free and walked down the corridor, every step burning, every breath heavier than the last. The conference went on behind him, but his heart had heard enough. Hours later, Jungkook sat alone in the green room, head in his hands, body shaking not from nerves, but from the crash. The adrenaline had worn off, and now he was just a man who tore his world apart in front of millions. The door opened. No knock. Jungkook looked up. Jimin stood in the doorway. They stared at each other for a moment that stretched too long. Neither of them spoke. Then Jimin closed the door behind him and leaned against it, arms crossed. That was dramatic. Jimin said flatly. It was the truth. Since when do you care about telling the truth? Since I started losing everything that mattered. And now what? Jimin's voice was cold. You confessed on national television and expect the world to clap? You expect me to run into your arms and kiss you for the cameras? No, Jungkook said. I didn't even know you'd see it. Well, I did. Did it matter? Yes, Jimin said. But not the way you wanted to. Jungkook stood up slowly. Then, how? It mattered because I saw the man I used to know, the one who wasn't afraid to be messy, the one who cried when he thought no one was watching, the one who told me he'd never let fame take away his soul. That's still me. No, it's not, Jimin said. That version of you died somewhere between the rehearsals and the engagement shoot. I don't know this version. I don't trust him. You can't even say you don't love him. Don't you dare use that against me. Jungkook stepped closer. I'm not. I'm just saying. I'm still here. I still feel everything. I'm trying. Trying isn't enough. I know. Then why are you still chasing something we both know is broken? Because it's the only thing that ever felt real. Jimin's lip quivered for a second, but he didn't break. Do you want closure? Yes. So do I. Silence. Jimin walked closer, inch by inch, until they were barely a breath apart. He looked up at Jungkook, eyes filled with everything he never said. His voice was barely a whisper. Kiss me. Jungkook's eyes widened. Do it, Jimin said. If you really think this is about love, if you really believe we're worth saving, kiss me now. Jungkook's breath caught. He leaned in slowly, hesitating at the last second, searching Jimin's face for permission. But Jimin pulled back. That's what I thought, he said. You want me, but not the consequences. You want the feeling, not the fight. That's not fair. It's the only truth I've got left. Jungkook reached out, desperate, but Jimin stepped away. Don't touch me unless you're ready to choose me. Not just in private, not just when it's safe, but every damn day, every camera flash, every moment that could break us. I am ready. Then prove it, Jimin said. Not to me. To yourself. He turned to leave, pausing at the door. And Jungkook, if you ever hurt me like that again, there won't be a third chance. When he left, Jungkook collapsed onto the couch. He didn't cry, but he felt everything, because the person he loved most just gave him the most terrifying gift in the world, a second chance with conditions. And this time, the whole world would be watching. Jungkook showed up at Jimin's door again, this time without hesitation, without shame. He didn't text first. He didn't wait for permission. He needed answers to questions that haunted him more than silence ever did. The moment Jimin opened the door, his face didn't register surprise, only tiredness. His hair was messy, his hoodie oversized, and his eyes swollen like he hadn't slept in days. You don't stop, do you? Jimin muttered. Jungkook stepped inside without being invited. No, not when I know I screwed up, not when I know you still care. Jimin closed the door slowly behind him. This isn't a game where persistence wins the prize. I'm not trying to win anything, Jungkook said, standing in the middle of the room like it belonged to both of them. I just want to fix what I broke. Jimin crossed his arms. You can't. You shattered it. Me. Her. Yourself. I didn't come here for forgiveness. Then why are you here? Jimin's voice rose. What do you want from me, Jungkook? I already gave you the truth. I told you I still love you. I told you you broke me. Isn't that enough? No, it's not enough, Jungkook said, his voice sharp now. Because I can't sleep. I can't eat. I can't stand the sound of my own songs anymore because they remind me of you. I walk into rooms and expect you to be there. I go through old rehearsal footage just to hear you laugh in the background. I'm haunted, Jimin, by every version of you I threw away. Jimin clenched his jaw, trying not to shake. You don't get to use pain as proof of love. Pain is not redemption. I know that, Jungkook said. But I'm not here to be redeemed. I'm here to tell you I'm not giving up. You should, Jimin said bitterly. Because there's nothing left. That's not true. It is. You still look at me like I matter. And you still kiss with guilt behind your eyes. I haven't kissed anyone since I left her. Jimin blinked. Why? Because no lips feel right if they're not yours. Jimin turned away, like those words burned. You're saying the things I waited years to hear. And they don't feel like love anymore. They feel like apologies arriving too late. I had to lose everything to realize what mattered. That's convenient. It's not. Yes, it is. Because you get to look noble now. You walked away from the wedding. You told the truth at the press conference. You say you love me. The fans cheer. The media praises your bravery. But where was this energy? When I was crying alone in a hotel bathroom after reading your engagement headline on Twitter? Jungkook was silent. Jimin turned slowly. You think you're hurting now? I lived in your absence. I built walls to survive you. I held on to songs we wrote together and screamed them into pillows so the neighbors wouldn't hear me shatter. I know I ruined it, Jungkook whispered. No. You erased it. I didn't mean to. But you did. Every time you smiled for the camera beside her. Every time you ignored my calls. Every time you told the world you were finally happy. You rewrote the narrative. You left me behind in a story we started together. Jungkook stepped forward, voice trembling. Then, let me start a new one. Jimin's eyes flared. You think this is about starting over? You think love is a script you can re-edit when the ratings drop? No, Jungkook. Real love is continuity. It's consistency. It's being chosen every single day. And you didn't choose me. I choose you now. Jimin shook his head slowly. I don't believe you. I'll prove it. You don't get that chance. There was a pause, tense, blistering, like a bomb waiting for detonation. Then Jimin said something that sliced the room open. I slept with someone else. The silence that followed was lethal. Jungkook's face went blank, his mouth opened slightly. What? Jimin didn't look away. You don't get to be the only one who moved on. The room pulsed with the weight of that confession. When? Jungkook asked, voice low. Does it matter? Yes. Jimin exhaled. After your engagement. Before the wedding. Was it serious? No. Was it him? Jungkook asked, voice cracking. Was it Taehyung? Jimin didn't answer. Tell me it wasn't him. Would it change anything if it was? Yes. Then maybe it was. Jungkook staggered backward like the words had struck him across the face. Why would you do that? Because I was tired of feeling like I belonged to a man who didn't want to be seen with me. I never stopped wanting you. You stopped fighting for me. Jungkook's hands clenched at his sides, his jaw tight, chest heaving. And now you're punishing me? No, Jimin said. Now, I'm protecting myself. You used to believe in us. I used to believe in a lot of things. I used to believe you'd never break me. I used to believe love would be enough. Jungkook stared at him for a long time, expression unreadable. So what now? I don't know. Do you love him? I didn't say I did. But you didn't say you didn't. Jimin looked down at the floor, then back at Jungkook. I'm still trying to figure out who I am without you. I don't owe you clarity. Not yet. And? Jungkook nodded slowly, pain etched deep into his features. Okay. He walked to the door, opened it, stepped out into the hallway, but before leaving, he turned one last time. I'm not going to ask you to erase what happened. I'm not going to beg for a second chance today. But I will say this, no matter who touches you, no matter who holds your heart next, no one will ever love you the way I did, broken and all. He left. Jimin stood in the middle of the room, arms wrapped around his own body like armor, and for the first time in weeks, he let himself sob without stopping. Not because Jungkook was wrong, but because he was right, and that truth was the most unbearable one of all. The club lights were dim and erratic, strobing flashes of blue and red cutting across bodies moving with the kind of desperation only loneliness could produce. Music pounded through the walls, too loud to think, too thick to breathe. But even in the chaos, Jungkook spotted him across the floor, in a corner booth, lips close to someone else's ear, laughter too easy, too forced. Jimin, Taehyung was next to him, watching closely, like a bodyguard and best friend rolled into one, jaw tight, fingers tapping nervously against his glass. He saw Jungkook too. The moment their eyes met, the atmosphere shifted. Something cold and dangerous rippled in the air, as if the bass dropped into something darker. Jungkook didn't hesitate. He pushed through the crowd, ignoring hands grabbing at his sleeves, ignoring the camera phone that briefly caught his profile. His blood was rushing too fast. His heart beat like a war drum. He stopped at the edge of the table. Jimin looked up, feigned surprise, and leaned back against the velvet cushion. "Didn't know you partied anymore." "I don't," Jungkook said, teeth clenched. "But apparently you do." Jimin's smile was thin. "Well, people change." The man beside him shifted awkwardly, sensing the heat between them. "Should I?" "Yes," Jungkook said before Jimin could answer. "You should go." "Don't tell him what to do," Jimin snapped. Jungkook's eyes locked on Jimin's, voice low. "Then you tell him. Tell him he was just a placeholder. Tell him he's not the one you think about when the music slows down." Jimin stood. "Don't do this here." "Why not? You wanted to be seen, right? This isn't about you, Jungkook. You don't own every room I walk into." "No, but you keep bringing me into every room anyway. I see it in your eyes. You wear my name like a secret under your skin." Jimin's voice dropped, deadly calm. "Back off. Not until you tell me you don't love me." Taehyung stood too, putting a hand on Jungkook's chest. "This isn't the time." "Then when is?" Jungkook snapped, pushing past him. "When he kisses someone else in front of me? When the world forgets we ever happened? When I finally give up on something that never stopped meaning everything?" The music faded into the background as the club began to watch them two idols, once inseparable, now tearing at the seams in public. Jimin's voice wavered. "You left me." "I left her," Jungkook growled, stepping closer. "I came back to you. You came back because you couldn't sleep in her bed without seeing my face. That's not love. That's guilt. I came back because no one else ever made me feel like you do. Not even close." Jimin looked away. "Look me in the eye," Jungkook said. "Tell me you've moved on. Tell me you don't feel it when I say your name." "Stop. Say it." "No." "Then say this," Jungkook challenged, his voice cracking now, raw and brutal. "Say you don't love me anymore." Jimin was silent. The lights pulsed. The crowd hushed. Taehyung stepped back like he knew this wasn't his fight anymore. "Say it," Jungkook whispered again. "If you don't love me, I'll walk out. I won't come back." Jimin swallowed hard. "I hate you. That's not the same. I hate what you did to me. I hate what I became trying to deserve your attention. I hate how I still wake up thinking about the way you used to say goodnight. I hate that your songs still play in the back of my head when I'm trying to forget." Jungkook's breath shook. "But you can't say it, can you?" Jimin's voice broke, softer now, trembling. "No, I can't." Jungkook stepped forward, slow and careful, eyes wide with disbelief. "I still love you," Jimin whispered. "God help me. I still do." The words silenced the world. And then, just as quickly, Jimin pushed him away. "But that doesn't mean I want you back." Jungkook froze. Jimin's expression shattered. "I can't go through it again. The half-truths. The public lies. The way you make me feel invisible the moment the lights go on. I won't do that again." "You already did." "I've changed." "Then prove it without dragging me through the dirt again." "Tell me how." "Leave." "No." "Then I will." Jimin turned and stormed through the crowd, eyes stinging, throat closing. He didn't look back, not once. Jungkook stood alone in the middle of the club, music swallowing him whole, people watching like they just witnessed a car crash in slow motion. Taehyung approached, silent. "You should have stayed away," he said. "I couldn't," Jungkook whispered. "I know," Taehyung replied. "But that doesn't mean he was ready. I don't know how to stop loving him." "Maybe you shouldn't," Taehyung said. "But maybe you should learn how to love him from a distance." Jungkook didn't answer, because deep down, he knew distance was never his strength. But maybe, this time, love had to look like letting go. Jimin sat alone on the rooftop of Hybe's recording building, his legs dangling over the edge, as a cigarette burned low between his fingers. He hadn't smoked in years, not since the early trainee days, when pressure felt like oxygen and rebellion was the only way to feel in control. But tonight, He needed something to dull the ache, something other than the sound of Jungkook's voice in his head, over and over again. Say you don't love me anymore. He exhaled a plume of smoke, watching it twist up into the soul night sky, disappearing just like every illusion he'd once had about love, about safety, about Jungkook. The door behind him creaked open. He didn't turn. Jungkook's footsteps were cautious but firm, and he said nothing until he was close enough for his voice to carry without effort. You're not supposed to be up here, Jungkook said gently. Jimin took another drag. Neither are you. Silence. Then, you said you still loved me. Jimin's laugh was low and bitter. That was a mistake. No, it wasn't. You don't get to tell me what is or isn't a mistake. I know, Jungkook said quietly. But I need to say this, please. Jimin flicked the cigarette away and stood, brushing ash from his hands. You want to talk? Fine. Talk. Say whatever it is you've been rehearsing in your head for the past 3 days. Say it before I decide it's not worth hearing. Jungkook's jaw tightened. His hands trembled at his sides, but his voice remained calm. I was afraid, not of you, of what loving you out loud would cost me. I thought if I loved you in private, it would protect us. But all it did was turn you into a secret I hated myself for keeping. You didn't just keep me a secret, Jimin said. You erased me. I know, and I can never take that back. You don't get to rewrite the past just because you feel guilty now. I'm not trying to rewrite anything, Jungkook said. I'm trying to start from where we left off. There is no where we left off, Jimin snapped. There's a gaping hole where trust used to be, a scar where your promises lived. Jungkook stepped forward, voice shaking. Then let me earn it back. Let me stand beside you, not behind you. Let me be the one who fights for us this time. Jimin's breath hitched. And what happens when the cameras turn back on? When the label steps in? When your fans start asking questions you're too afraid to answer? I'll answer them. Liar. I'll say your name. Liar. I'll hold your hand in front of every flashing light. Jimin's eyes were wet now, fury and grief swirling like a storm. Don't say that unless you mean it. Don't say that unless you're ready to watch half the world turn against you, and still choose me. I already lost the world once by not choosing you, Jungkook whispered. I won't make that mistake again. You say that now, but when the pressure comes, let it come. Jimin looked away, lips trembling. Do you even know what I've been through? The comments, the threats, the fans who accused me of destroying you, the sleepless nights wondering if I was just a phase you were ashamed of? I know what they said. No, Jimin said, stepping forward, voice low and seething. You don't. Because you didn't stand beside me when they said it. You hid. You kept silent. And I bled for both of us. Jungkook's throat bobbed. I'll never be silent again. Jimin stared at him, silent for a moment. Then prove it. I will. Right now. Jungkook blinked. What? Jimin pulled out his phone, turned the camera to selfie mode, and hit record. His face was steady, eyes locked on Jungkook. Say it, Jimin said. Right now, on camera, to the whole world. Say you love me. Jungkook hesitated, panic flashing across his face. Jimin, no edits, no filters, no script. Just say it. Jungkook looked at the lens, then at Jimin. Then he took a deep breath. My name is Jungkook, he said, and I am in love with Park Jimin. The moment the words left his lips, Jimin's expression shifted shock, disbelief, and something deeper, relief. Jimin ended the recording and lowered the phone, his eyes never leaving Jungkook's. Post it, Jungkook said, without flinching. Right now. Jimin stared at him. Are you serious? Yes. You'll lose everything. Then I'll rebuild it with you. Jimin hesitated, thumb hovering over the post button, but then he slowly lowered the phone. I'm not going to post it, he said. Jungkook looked confused. Why not? Because I don't need the world to believe you. I need me to believe you. And I don't not yet. But You just did something brave, Jimin interrupted. But one brave moment doesn't erase 100 cowardly ones. I'll earn the next 100, Jungkook promised. Jimin nodded slowly. We'll see. They stood on that rooftop as the wind picked up, hair tousled, hearts exposed. It wasn't a reunion. It wasn't forgiveness. It was something far more dangerous. Hope. And for two men who'd lost each other in the glare of the spotlight, Hope was the most terrifying and beautiful thing of all. The elevator ride to the top floor of HYBE headquarters was silent, but not peaceful. Jungkook stood in the corner, arms folded, sunglasses on despite the fluorescent lights. Jimin was next to him, phone in hand, fingers nervously tapping the screen though he wasn't typing anything. Their reflections in the mirrored walls said everything they wouldn't out loud: tension, exhaustion, anticipation, and an almost unbearable awareness of each other. The doors opened to the executive suite. They stepped out, side by side, into a room full of people waiting for a scandal to die. The CEO sat at the far end of a long glass table. Managers, PR staff, board members, stylists, they were all there, scattered across the chairs like vultures dressed in business casual. No one smiled. "Sit," the CEO said. They did. Jimin's fingers tightened around the edge of the table. Jungkook slid his sunglasses off slowly and set them down. The CEO folded his hands. "So, that video." No one breathed. "I don't want to hear another word from the PR team about 'we can spin this' or 'maybe we can delete it quietly.' What I want to know is this: was it a mistake?" Jungkook didn't hesitate. "No." "Then you're confirming it?" "Yes." "You understand what that means?" "I do." "Say it," the CEO ordered, eyes sharp. "Say it so we're all clear." Jungkook looked straight into the eyes of the man who had built his career from scratch. "I'm in love with Jimin. I've always been in love with Jimin. And I'm done pretending otherwise." Gasps. Shifts in seats. A manager's pen snapped in half under his grip. Jimin looked down, barely breathing. The CEO leaned back slowly. "You just signed your death sentence." "No," Jungkook said. "I just decided to live honestly." "And what about the fans, the contracts, the international deals, the sponsors who called me this morning threatening to pull out?" Jungkook glanced at Jimin, then looked back. "Let them, you arrogant little. I'm not here to be controlled anymore." "You think this is about control? It's about survival. It's about integrity," Jungkook said calmly. "I spent years crafting a version of myself that sold records and sold out stadiums, but the version who cried alone backstage after lying on live television. That's not the man I want to be anymore." The CEO looked to Jimin. "And you? Is this what you want?" Jimin took a breath, finally raising his eyes. "I want to stop being a secret. Even if it destroys your career? I don't care about fame if it means I have to lose myself to keep it." The room went quiet. Someone muttered under their breath, "This is suicide." Jungkook stood. "Then we'll die on our own terms." Jimin stood too, his heart racing like a bomb inside his chest. The CEO rubbed his temples. "You're both reckless." "We're honest," Jimin said, surprising even himself. "For the first time, get out of my office," the CEO said through clenched teeth. They left without another word. In the elevator, Jimin leaned against the mirrored wall, face pale. Jungkook turned to him, worry in his eyes. "You okay?" "I don't know. You were amazing. I feel like I'm going to vomit." Jungkook laughed, soft and shaky. "You still want to do this?" "I just quit everything I thought I needed," Jimin said. "So yeah, I want to do this." Back in the car, they drove in silence for a while. Then Jimin spoke, eyes on the road ahead. "Why now?" Jungkook looked at him. "Why what? Why choose me now, after all this time?" Jungkook paused. "Because I finally realized you weren't asking for the world. You were asking to be seen, to be held, to be told the truth without shame. I wanted to be chosen." "You always were," Jungkook said. "I just never had the courage to say it." Jimin's throat tightened. "And now? Now I want to scream it." Jimin pulled the car over on a quiet street. The city moved around them, unaware. Inside the silence, Jimin turned in his seat, searching Jungkook's face. "I don't know how to be with you without breaking." "Then let's rebuild." "You're saying all the right things now. But what happens when the backlash starts? When they start dragging us, sending hate, threatening to boycott everything?" Jungkook reached for Jimin's hand. "Then we'll hold tighter." "You promise?" "I do." Jimin let out a trembling breath. "You once promised you'd never leave. Then you did. I'll spend the rest of my life undoing that mistake." Jimin didn't cry. He just closed his eyes, leaned in, and rested his forehead against Jungkook's. "So this is what it feels like to be chosen," he whispered. Jungkook kissed him, slow and reverent, like it was the first time all over again. When they pulled apart, neither said anything. They didn't need to. Because in the quiet, in the chaos, in the cost, it was finally real. And this time, it was loud enough for the world to hear. The news broke like wildfire. Within hours of Jungkook's rooftop confession and his words at Hybe's office, headlines spread across every corner of the internet. Jungkook confirms his love for Jimin. The truth behind the broken engagement. K-pop's biggest secret finally exposed. Fans were divided, some screaming in support, others unleashing venomous rage. Brands pulled sponsorships. Hashtags trended worldwide. Every broadcast station wanted an interview. And through it all, Jimin sat in his apartment, staring at the endless flood of notifications, his heart pounding like a war drum. He scrolled through comments too quickly to process threats, tears, love letters, anger. His face burned as if every pair of eyes in the world were on him. Which, he realized, they were. The knock at his door was soft at first, then firmer, then relentless. He already knew who it was. When Jungkook stepped inside, he looked different, not broken this time, but burning. His hoodie was pulled over his head, his jaw tight, his body wired with energy he couldn't contain. "Have you seen it?" Jungkook asked. "Seen it?" Jimin laughed bitterly. "I'm living it. Every second, every word, every damn post." Jungkook closed the door and stepped closer. "Good. Let them talk." "Good?" Jimin's voice rose, sharp with disbelief. "You call this good? Look at what's happening, Jungkook. They're tearing me apart. They're tearing us apart. Do you have any idea what you've started?" "Yes," Jungkook said firmly. "I started the truth." "The truth?" Jimin snapped. "The truth doesn't protect us. The truth doesn't shield us from threats or save us from the people who are now dissecting every breath we take. The truth doesn't stop the death threats in my inbox." Jungkook froze. "What?" Jimin shoved his phone at him, the screen filled with hateful messages. "You ruined him. Die. Leave Jungkook alone. We'll find you." Jungkook's stomach twisted. His hands shook as he scrolled, each word a blade. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you don't get it," Jimin whispered. "You think being loud makes you brave, but being loud makes me a target, and I'm so damn tired of being your collateral damage." Jungkook's voice broke. "I never wanted you to suffer for me, but I did," Jimin said. "And I am. Every second. And you still chose to drag me into the light without asking me if I was ready. You wanted me to be honest. I wanted you to love me out loud," Jimin said, his voice trembling. "But I didn't want you to set me on fire in the process." Silence. The kind of silence that suffocated. Then Jungkook whispered, "So what do you want me to do?" "Tell me, Jimin. Tell me what to do, and I'll do it." Jimin shook his head, tears brimming. "I don't know. That's the problem. I don't know if I want to fight this war with you, or if I want to run as far away from you as possible." "Then run," Jungkook said suddenly, his chest heaving. "Run, if that's what you want. But don't stand here and tell me I should have kept lying. Don't tell me silence would have saved us. Because silence killed us once, and I'll be damned if I let it happen again." Jimin's voice cracked. "You think this is noble? You think this is sacrifice? No, Jungkook. This is you trying to absolve yourself by throwing me into the flames with you." Jungkook's hands balled into fists. "I'm standing in the fire with you." "No," Jimin said quietly, brokenly. "You lit the fire." The words hit like a slap. Jungkook stepped back, his eyes wet but fierce. "I lit it because I couldn't breathe in the dark anymore. And I would rather burn than live one more day pretending you're not the love of my life." Jimin stared at him, chest rising and falling like a man drowning on dry land, his lips parted, words trembling on the edge. But before he could speak, Jungkook stepped closer, voice low and raw. "So say it. Say you don't want me. Say you'd rather I stayed silent. Say you don't love me anymore, and I'll walk out that door and never come back." The room shook with the weight of those words. Jimin's throat closed, his heart screamed to answer, but his lips wouldn't move, because he couldn't lie. And Jungkook knew it. He reached out, fingers brushing Jimin's wrist, gentle, desperate. "Then don't let go. Not now. Not when the whole world finally knows what I've always known." Jimin's tears finally fell, streaking down his face. You don't understand, Jungkook. I don't know if I'm strong enough to survive this again. Then let me be strong for both of us, Jungkook said. Just this once. Let me carry the weight I should have carried from the beginning. Jimin closed his eyes, his body trembling under the weight of choice. He didn't move. He didn't push Jungkook away. And for the first time in years, Jungkook let himself truly believe that maybe, just maybe, they had a chance to survive the fire together. But outside, the storm was already gathering. Fans camped outside Hybe with banners demanding answers. Sponsors issued ultimatums. The press sharpened their knives. And somewhere in the chaos, a secret waited to surface one neither of them was prepared for.